Okay, the Archer is the starting class I have gone for, and in my opinion, it is the most fun one to be in Dragon's Dogma 2 so far. So, I thought I'd break down a little guide on the best items I found for the beginning of the game. Now, I've only put about 10 hours into the game, and I'm approximately level 20. So when I say the beginning of the game, that is the scope we are talking. There are going to be very minor story spoilers in this. Nothing mainline story heavy, but there are going to be a few little side quest story spoilers, so just be aware before we dip into it. Now, the Archer, as you know, is a high DPS level ranged character, and there's a few things you can do. And for me, this build and this vocation really comes into play once you reach the city of Verw Worth. Now, in Verw Worth, you come here pretty quick into the game. I would say probably within the first 2, maybe 3 hours, 4 at a push, if you really get distracted and whatnot. But here in Verw Worth are a bunch of smithies, such as the gentleman here.
The Goblin's lair.
Roderick. Now, forgetting all this, he sells some really good items you can start off with and buy. Now, they're not cheap for the beginning of the game, so save your money, but the bespoke bow is really good, and this took me a long way into my build. Now, progressing from here, just outside of this gentleman, is a elven character by the name of Glind, or something along the lines of that. He's the blonde elven dude you can see here, and essentially he is Dragon Dogma's 2 Legolas so far. Now, he will start you off on an archery quest line, which you can start from the very beginning. I have finished his, what appears to be so far only main quest line in the game, and that's where I reached level 20 with. And doing this quest, you can actually get a few really good items. Now, I'm not going to spoil the actual quests themselves, but the first reward you will get from him is the Ring of Proximity. Now, this ring imbued with power offers a greater boost to the strength of bow attacks the closer you are to the target. Now, ideally, with a archer, you're not going to want to be front and center with enemies, but there are enemies that will chase you down, there are enemies that will come at you, and there are enemies that you might end up having to maneuver around and you'll end up closer with. This is a really good bow if you can knock an enemy onto the floor like a harpy and then close the distance and fire off some arrows, do extra damage. Really good for hopefully if an enemy is charging at you like a wolf or an ogre or a minotaur, then you can hopefully take them out, or you can stagger them or something before they can actually get to you and do any damage. Really good lifesaver ring. In my opinion, there might be some better rings mid to late game. I haven't quite discovered them yet, but for a very early game, really good ring. And his first quest to do is very, very simple. Really, really simple. I can't stress that enough. One of the most simple quests in the game. Now, progressing more through this quest line, you will come onto the second quest that Gwendolyn will have for you. And again, I'm not going to spoil it, but the result of this is you get to speak with his father, who has legendary archer skills for you or your pawns to have learned. Now, really, really good stuff. And essentially, these legendary archer skills are much powerful more skills for you to adopt. I, again, will not ruin what these look like, but it is really worth following this quest. And in my opinion, this is another quest that isn't too hard to do very late, early game. As I said, I reached the end of level 20 doing this, and it wasn't too tough, to be honest. Now, when it comes to bows, my recommended bow for this point is the Repeller Bow. A bow wrapped in the hide of a divine creature. Its sling is most likely keenly felt by foes. 293 strength, 100 strength strike, and knockdown power is 229. And now with this bow, what I would also do would become 2 the blacksmiths, such as Roderick, you can see here, and enhance your equipment. Now to do this, you do require materials apart from for the very first one. And as you can see, just by doing this, we not only reduce the weight of our item, we also boost our strength of the item by 15. And it's as simple as that. You can then continue upgrading your items from him, and you can do this with armor as well. But essentially, you do need to find more and more materials, and the more common the item, the more common the materials, so bear that in mind. Now, when it comes to armor so far, I am using the Brigand Vest. Now, pretty good defense, pretty good magic defense and knockdown resistance, and it is all the way buffed to the 3 tiers, meaning It's pretty easy to upgrade. You will probably stumble across the items to upgrade this yourself very, very easily. Nothing too much to worry about. And now one more thing to go over. If you do want some equipment for your build, make sure you look at your arrows. Now, these can be bought and crafted, and essentially they are very, very good. You have your blighted arrows, which basically give you a blighting shot or a noxious shot. You have your drenching one, which is really good. My personal favorite is the explosive one. These can do some mass damage, especially to a weak to fire enemy. You can literally light a minotaur or what I think is a giant ape. Those sort of things, just to completely ignite them on fire, and their health will dwindle down so quickly you would not believe it. And there's also the tarring arrow. So make sure you have these stocked up as well. Pair them with your bow of your choice. Again, my option for this would be the repeller bow. Put your special arrows onto this and you are going to be doing some mass damage. Couple this with your ring of proximity. So if you do have the distance close on you, you will do even more damage. And if you compare this with a barraging shot, so you're doing 2 arrows at once, that's double the damage essentially. And that is some of the best items I found in roughly the first 10 hours of the build for your characters to adopt. Now, if you find any other items, please let me know in the comments below. And I will probably do an updated one of these towards the end of the game once I have the whole of the equipment and resources unlocked. But essentially, if you want some early level stuff for your archer, make sure you follow the questline with Glind. Seek out the repelling bow. You can find out where to get this online with guides and whatnot. Make sure you're upgrading your weapons, and definitely make sure you're crafting your explosive arrows and your tarring arrows, that sort of stuff. If you enjoyed, please drop the video a like, helps me amazingly. If you're new and you're not subscribed, you'd like to, that'd also be amazing, and hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.